Hey everyone, Clay from Brooklyn, Football with the Fellas. It's all about Big Blue. Here with a really brief post-game reaction to the loss to the Washington Commanders that not very many of us saw coming. So you all saw the game, you know that they jumped out to an early lead and we shot ourselves in the foot, yada yada yada. We made a valiant effort to come back at the end of the game. We got some turnovers. And we were in position with the last possession to potentially tie the game. We lost by 8. We would have had to score a touchdown and make the two-point conversion, but we had a shot at that because we turned them over twice. They fumbled twice on their last two possessions, not including the kneel down at the end. So there were definitely positive takeaways. But the fact that we dug ourselves that hole, the fact that we continued to be our own worst enemies was certainly present again. But as you know, I'm already looking ahead to next year. So here's some things that I thought about this game as far as what it might mean for next year. But before I get into that, quick business. Please take a moment and grab that like button. If you want to think about the Giants off season and then 2026 season, just like I do, please grab that like button, subscribe, share, comment, yada, yada, yada. You know the deal. Okay. So some of my post-game thoughts, which are a lot of maybes, but do offer me a bit of hope. I know Mazo is the optimist, and I'm certain that Mazo and I are going to talk again about this game probably tomorrow. But right now, off the top of my head, here's a few things that make me feel a little bit better about next year, even in the midst of this 2-12 disaster. First and foremost, we're going to get a new head coach. We have to get a new head coach. But if we get a new head coach that has a little more gravitas, a little more, track record, maybe even a ring somewhere, college or pro, preferably pro, that person can convince Dart to not only slide more often, but to stop calling design runs up the middle, right? It's one thing to pull the ball out of the running back's gut because the edge rusher came crashing down too hard and you can trot around the sideline untouched for 5 or 10 yards. It's another thing to fake the toss sweep and then take it right up the middle. Please stop doing that. You cannot win a game in the first half, but you certainly can lose the game in the first half, especially if you get an injury to your quarterback. And that kind of play selection could lead to some more time in the blue tent for Dart. He is way too familiar with the blue tent. The blue tent probably has his picture in it already. Has like he's making furniture decisions in the blue tent because he's in there so often, and I'm tired of that. Okay, the next maybe is Abdul Carter, who showed up in a big way today, had his best game as a pro. Um, it's his rookie year. We didn't expect him to be Micah Parsons from day one, although Micah Parsons was Micah Parsons from day one, but whatever. We didn't expect him to be Micah Parsons from day one, but we thought he'd be better than he has been more consistently. And I don't want to hear about how many pressures he's got. Yes, I'm not saying he's a bad player or has had a bad season. I'm saying that the results, the actual production, the sacks, the tackles for loss, getting people to the ground, not just pressuring the quarterback to move off of his spot. They just haven't been there in big enough numbers to consider this third overall pick a success. Today, he looked like the third overall pick, right? Today, he looked like somebody that we can build around. And if he is starting to learn what it takes to be a pro and he can have a breakout year next year, opposite Brian Burns, who's having a monster year this year himself, and if those two can stay healthy and consistently pressure quarterbacks off the edge, then yeah, I think we can have a serious pass rush next year, even if it's not from Dexter. Although I do think Dexter's going to be healthier next year and can be closer to the guy he was last year. He may never be that guy again, right? He's been in the league a while now. He may never be that guy again, but we need more from him than we're getting from him this year. So if we can get more out of Abdul Carter, if we can get a little bit more out of Dexter Lawrence, and if we can add a couple of pieces, like I want to draft Mansour Delane, the cornerback out of LSU. I want to sign Leo Chenal, the soon-to-be free agent linebacker from Kansas City. Considering that Kansas City just got eliminated from the playoffs today, they may be even more ready to start retooling and to spend a lot of money on an inside linebacker when they've already spent a lot of money on the other two inside linebackers. I just don't see it. So I'm pretty sure Leo Chenal is leaving. The question is, does he want to come here? And I think we should sign Christian Wilkins, as you've heard me say many times. Uh, Obviously, on a team-friendly deal, a prove-it deal. But if Christian Wilkins can be, 80% of the guy he used to be, and you put him in that B gap, and maybe Darius Alexander in the other B gap in a tight front surrounding Dexter Lawrence in the middle, that plus Leo Chenal as an inside linebacker will seriously shut down the run. And if we can shut down the run, and especially if we still have those two edge rushers playing healthy and at the top of their games, that defense might be the top, five-ish defense that we thought we had this year and didn't have anywhere near this year. So that's the next maybe. Another maybe is if this new head coach retains Carmen Brasillo, our offensive line coach, maybe we can have some continuity along the offensive line. Combine that with another maybe Marcus Bowe can actually replace either Jermaine Illuminor or Greg Van Roten. I suspect at least one of those two won't be back next year. So if Marcus Bowe can replace them at a decent enough level, he doesn't have to necessarily be as good as Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle right away. Hopefully he's at least as good as Greg Van Roten at right guard if that's where he's playing. But if he can be solidly close to what those two have produced to maintain the consistency that we have from the offensive line this year, that's going to go a long way towards allowing Dart to take that next step. Keep in mind, remember, it's almost like we have 3 first-round picks because we get Neighbors and Scatterboot back next year. This team that's scoring in the 20s pretty consistently, and we saw the stat earlier before the game that Jackson Dart is 3rd in the NFL with touchdowns produced per game by a quarterback with, I think it was 2.3. He was 3rd in the NFL. Not 3rd among rookies, 3rd among quarterbacks in terms of touchdowns per game. So that is without Marcus Bowe, sure, without Marcus Bowe, but without Neighbors and without Scatterboot for most of the year. When you give him those two weapons back, we're going to be fine on offense as long as we can block. So we're going to be fine on offense. So that team, when we're averaging 22 points a game now, that team could average 24, 25, 26 points a game. I think adding those pieces makes us at least a field goal better a game. And that's, top 5-ish in the league. And then finally, maybe a full offseason as the number 1 quarterback so that he can get even more reps with Theo, with Slayton, with Neighbors if he's healthy enough, with Bellinger if he's back, and to whatever wide receiver we draft on day 3, because I feel like we definitely should draft a wide receiver at the latest day 3. That extra time, those reps can help Dart maybe not have quite as many of those, not frequent, but occasional missed reads like the last 2 throws to Wan'Dale in this game, right? Even the commentators were saying that the last 2 throws to Wan'Dale seemed to be Dart and Wan'Dale not on the same page, right? Wan'Dale was breaking the post all the way across towards the opposite corner, and Dart was throwing him up the field towards the goalpost. And so they just didn't connect at all. But maybe more reps in the offseason makes them more efficient, makes them see the field the same way, makes them make the same reads a little bit more often. And again, we're scoring in the low 20s already without some of these things. So having all of those things should be worth at least 2 or 3 points a game, I think. So that's why I'm cautiously optimistic about next year, even in the midst of this 2-12 disaster, because I see little things here and there that I think could really be useful and productive next year, especially again. It's one thing to be giving the effort you think is your all when your team is 2-11. It's another thing week 1 of a brand new season. So do I think these guys are trying their best? Yes, I do. I think they're out there playing football, knowing that, everything you put on tape can reflect in your salary or your ability to even have a job next year. But in the back of their mind, there's got to be this little voice saying, well, we're 2-11. This season's over. That won't be the case next year. So yes, I'm looking forward to next year with cautious optimism. Call it drinking the blue Kool-Aid if you want to, but that's how I feel. Anyway, that's how I feel. Love to know how you feel. So please drop a comment. Let me know what you think about what I just said. Let me know what you think about this game. Again, Mazo and I are going to do a deeper dive on it tomorrow, but I just wanted to come on real quick and give you my immediate thoughts. All right, there you go. Clay from Brooklyn. Football with the fellas. All about Big Blue. I'm out.